What's going on out there? It's Larry coming to you again with another little sports report. I know it's been a minute, but I'm back. I've been taking care of some things. I go on hiatus, however you want to call it. But anyways, we got a couple of things we need to get into. First of all, we're going to start off with the NBA, my favorite topic of conversation because, I am a basketball guy. And let's start off with the fact that every time you turn around and look at the NBA news, they're always talking about either the Los Angeles Lakers or the Miami Heat. No one is ever giving credit to the other guys that are in this league, and it's kind of sickening. But since those seem to be the two topics of discussion, let's start off with the Miami Heat. Last night they got blown out by the New York Knicks without Carmelo Anthony, without Amara Stoudemire, without Iman Shumpert, and they got beat by 20 points. Now, we seen that last week they played against the San Antonio Spurs B squad, and they had to fight and claw and nail their way against those guys. And then come around last night, Melo did not participate, and yet Raymond Felton had a career night. That shows me one of two things. It's either one, the Miami Heat play down to their competition, or two, their point guards cannot stop anybody. Raymond Felton and Jason Kidd on the court together looked magnificent, and the Knicks are playing at a very high level right now, but you got to wonder what happens when Stoudemire comes back, when Shumpert comes back. You know what? When I look at Stoudemire's situation, it's not as bad as someone like Iman Shumpert for the simple fact Stoudemire plays in the front court, where you have Rasheed Wallace, Kurt Thomas, Marcus Camby, all those guys who are up there in age. So him coming back will actually spell those guys from having all the extra minutes and have those guys actually more ready for the playoffs. When you look at Iman Shumpert coming back, he's in the backcourt. Right now you got a backcourt consisting of Jason Kidd, Raymond Felton, J.R. Smith. Prigioni is back there in the backcourt. I'm pretty sure there's somebody else I'm forgetting right now that I can't think of right now. Ronnie Brewer is a tweener. Sometimes he plays a 2, sometimes he plays a 3. You got to wonder when Shumpert comes back, who's going to get their minutes cut? It's more than likely going to be Jason Kidd for the same reason as I mentioned Kurt Thomas and those guys. He's an older guy. Felton has shown that he can run this team from a point guard perspective. He can score, he can distribute, and he changes the game for these guys. Now, are the Knicks the better team in the East right now? I said it. I put it on Twitter. I said that, in my personal opinion, the Knicks at full strength are a better team than the Miami Heat. Granted, the fact that they have better veterans that surround them teams, and they got a better mix of youth and veteran leadership. All that stuff that go and when I say youth and veteran leadership, I mean I'm talking about younger guys who have been in the league for a while. Felton's been in the league for a while. Melo's been in the league for a while. Mari's been in the league for a while. Those guys are still in their prime years. Couple that with the fact you got good young players like Iman Shumpert that comes in. He's a lockdown defender. And you got the old wily veterans, like I said, with the Cambys and those guys, the kids. That team is a lot more dangerous in my opinion because they're a lot more court savvy in terms of managing things. And Mike Woodson, he's been showing that he's a coach for his players, not a coach for his system. He knows what his players could do. He plays to those guys' strengths, and he lets those guys go out there and play their style of game. He molds his offense around his players. Speaking of coaches, that's going to get to my next topic with the Los Angeles Lakers. Dwight Howard, Kobe Bryant, Pau Gasol, those guys have not been able to put it all together. Granted, Mike D'Antoni doesn't have his point guard that he needs in Steve Nash. Here's the thing. Stephen A. said it today, and I agree with him after he had said it. The problem with the Lakers is the past two guys that they've had has been their coaching. You had Mike Brown at the beginning of the season, who I said was not an offensive-minded coach, and yet they let this guy come in here and run their team last year and then starting off this year, and we've seen what happened with that. And you bring in a guy like Mike D'Antoni, who doesn't have the pieces that you absolutely need in order to run his system. You know he needs a point guard. You know he's a pick-and-roll player. He doesn't have either one of those guys right now because Kobe running the pick and roll is still going to look for his shot. Granted, he's taking more shots toward inside the 10 to 15 feet, but you still got to realize Kobe been used a lot more often in post-up situations, isolation situations, all those different kind of things you got to take into perspective. Now, do I think the Lakers will be better off when Steve Nash comes back? I have no absolute idea what's going to happen when Steve Nash comes back, because you look at Steve Nash and what he could do for this team from a point guard position. It's quite amazing what this man could do. But do I think that he's going to be the only thing that they need? No, there's a lot of problems with this Lakers team that needs to be figured out. Everybody's starting to use the Hacker Howard technique, and we've seen that's taking its toll on these guys. So it's going to be a lot of things that we see what happens with the Lakers moving forward in the future. Moving on to the NFL. We look at things that's going on in the NFL right now. Peyton Manning is playing outstanding. The Broncos won 8 games in a row last night after they dismantled the Oakland Raiders, making them look just as bad as they have looked all season long. Then you turn around and you look at the big matchup on Monday night, Houston taking on New England, which is going to be, I think, a high-scoring game. New England is the leading scoring team in the NFL. And right now we're getting down to the time where it's like, who's going to separate themselves in terms of playoff position. The AFC is already set, in my opinion. You got your top 4 teams that we already know is going to be there. When you look at the NFC, positions 4, 5, and 6, I mean, they're so jumbled up. You got the Giants, who are leading their division right now, but Washington is a game behind. Dallas still has a chance to make it. The Seahawks are playing consistently. I mean, there's so many factors that go into the NFL that we really don't know what to expect at this current point in time. Now, granted, I think that ultimately we'll see. I think the Seahawks and the Redskins will be 2 of those teams that get in there. The way that they're playing right now has just been amazing. It's been outstanding. And I think those guys are really out to prove something. Now we turn our attention to college football. My Alabama Crimson Tide, they held on in a game that I thought they might ended up losing late. When you look at the fact that Georgia was driving downfield, they got in a prime position, but yet Alabama somehow got another miracle win. They got 2 of those this year, one against LSU, one against Georgia. Granted, I'm not complaining about them winning, but it's the manner in which they win that gives you a little suspect feeling about these guys moving forward on the offensive end. We know they're going to run the ball. We got to wonder what's going to happen when they go up against that talented defense that Notre Dame has. But yet, Notre Dame has not faced the competition like the SEC yet. And they've had some games where they've looked like they should have lost. One against Stanford, but most notably against Pittsburgh when they went into overtime. National championship game should be amazing. And the Heisman presentation is tomorrow, and everybody's looking at Johnny Manziel as the leading guy to get it. I think that both Manziel and Manti Te'o both deserve the Heisman Award, but you know, offensive players do dominate because statistics never lie. Everybody looks at statistics. Everybody loves statistics, and what your boy Manziel has done, especially as a freshman at Texas A&M, has been amazing. He got the signature win on the road against Alabama, and I think that was enough. I think that was the game that cemented him in winning the Heisman Trophy. Moving on, UFC. UFC on Fox tomorrow night. It's a stat card, a pay-per-view worthy card, but luckily we get this on free TV. Benson Henderson taking on Nate Diaz. I think this is going to be one hell of a fight. I honestly cannot wait to see it. As much as I love my man Benson Henderson, I think that Diaz is out to prove something. I mean, he hasn't been in this situation in quite a while. I don't think he's ever been in this kind of situation, but I do think that at the end of the day, we're going to see Benson Henderson walk out successfully defending his title. Also, BJ Penn is making his return to the octagon, taking on Rory McDonald. We remember what Rory McDonald did to beautiful Shay Mills. He wasn't beautiful after that fight. And I think that Rory McDonald put on a similar display against BJ Penn. Granted, everybody said that Penn's in great shape, but we heard that before, and he still looks sloppy. So that remains to be seen what happens with that. Also, news just broke out yesterday that Ronda Rousey has been named the first female champion in UFC history at the bantamweight division, and she will defend her title, headlining UFC 157. I forgot who the opponent is, but this marks a big day in women's fighting, especially in combat sports, especially when you consider Dana White said that we never see women fighting in the UFC ring. And yet here we have Ronda Rousey, quite possibly the most popular female fighter right now, moving in to headline the UFC pay-per-view. This is huge. I can't wait to see the rest of the card that they add on to this. Like I said, I think this is a giant step forward for the UFC. I don't think they could have done any worse than what they have done by making this decision. This is considered to be her toughest fight. I can't remember the girl's name, but her opponent is 7-2. She's a highly touted fighter. We've heard that Cyborg is called out Ronda Rousey, saying she's scared to fight her. But anyways, however you want to look at that, I think that UFC is doing big things right now, and I can't wait to see what other females they add to their division. So this has been my sports report. It's been quick. I've tried to make it as quick as possible. It's been short. It's been sweet. It's been kind of noisy. I didn't expect all these people to come out here, but it is a lovely day here in Orlando, Florida. Remember, hit me up, subscribe, comment, like, tell me what you guys think. I give you things how I view them in my opinion, and you guys let me know what you want to. You guys give me feedback. I'll holler at y'all. Peace.